guys? It's the Hub of Fantasy Football with your host Uriah and my co-host, the Minister of Stats, Foley. How we doing, Foley?
All right. Hello from the best boomer bust pick'em in Up South football.
And our other co-host will be Evan. How we doing, Evan?
I'm all right. I cut my finger.
Cut his finger. Okay.
Poor baby.
I cut it a little bit, but it's okay.
So we have an ad today for, who do we got?
You got one?
I thought you had it.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, we're both doing one. I was just
I-
going to let you. I got one.
Here we go. I'll just jump into it real quick. Hey, are you a superstar? Do you constantly get derided by other chowderheads in your league? Did some jerk in your league give you a B- at the beginning of the year? Well, why don't you join me down at the Victory Lap? That's right, it's the world's only indoor track designed to be run with your fists held high above your head. You can choose what music you listen to while you jog on the track, such as All I Do Is Win, or the song from Rocky, or that fake crowd noise that the Falcons pump into their stadium. And before you leave, make sure to wipe your feet on our doormat. You'll know which one I'm talking about because it's got a picture of Michael Foley's face on it. That's the Victory Lap down at One Cool Guy Way. Come see me.
That felt a little personal.
I loved it.
I don't know who it was personal towards. I think he's really got a problem with Joe.
And saying that, I will be visiting the Victory Lap this Monday afternoon when I play Foley this week.
Yeah, most likely.
I hope you will not.
So, guys, before we get into the games, we got a little news going on. This week we had two big trades.
I'm thrilled about it.
Yeah. Too bad nobody went to the Saints.
Yeah.
Because they need some help. Anyway, we got our first team, the poor Jets. How much talking do y'all think Aaron Rodgers did to Devontae?
Oh, I think he was talking to Woody Johnson, the Jets owner.
Yeah, I think that it was you either make this move or find yourself another quarterback next year. I can retire at any point.
He's probably not going to play anyway next year.
If they don't make a deep run, like I was saying in the group chat the other day, at the end of that game against the Bills, you could just see it on his face. He was on the sideline thinking, okay,
you know,
I got my retirement ready.
We'll get into the games, but there's something about that game the other night. Like, the Jets started, and I was like, all right, okay, here we go. The Jets are kicking, and then we kick a field goal. And I'm like, And then the Jets get the ball again, and we're down the field, and it's looking great, and nothing happens. What is going on with this team?
I mean,
will Devontae help? The main thing.
No, I don't think he will.
No, I think it's going to be the same thing with a more expensive wide receiver out there.
And saying this before we get started, if you have another wide receiver for the Jets named Garrett, let's get rid of him right now while you can for, like 75 cents on the dollar as opposed to 25 cents on the dollar after he starts catching 3 passes for 20 yards.
I don't know. I'm kind of a mixed mind as far as that goes because at least he should have a good game this week. And so if you need him this week, maybe it's worth it.
Devontae's playing.
But he's new to the team, and we'll get more into that.
I
will say, all right, let me go and say this.
I was gonna agree with him because I have that same feeling about the other trade that we'll get to.
Yeah, and I have the same thing with that trade as well. I don't think either of these guys that we're talking about here you want to play this week. I think these are guys that we've seen some wide receivers come to a new NFL team and be good right away, but it's because they're fast. They win with their speed, and you can just tell them, go run a 9 route.
These two aren't speeders.
No, these guys win with route finesse and being able to make contested catches, and that's not, you got to learn the play.
So I kind of agree with y'all, but saying that, with all the injuries, can you sit
I think
Adams?
You got to find a way.
Okay.
Personally.
Do you sit Cooper?
Yes. So
Amari
Cooper is the other. Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm not sitting Cooper, and it's the same thing. I am tempering my expectations. I am the Cooper owner in this league, and I feel good about the trade. There's nowhere to go but up for sure. But I have to think back when Cooper was traded in his prime to the Cowboys, which actually might have been a slightly better offense than what we're getting out of Buffalo right now. And he still, for about 2-3 weeks, was topping out about 60 yards, maybe a touchdown here or there, but it's not huge numbers right off the jump.
No.
Oh, I'm not saying.
I don't think he gets 60 yards his first week.
I feel like both of them will get 60, and I feel like it's just going to be, hey, here's the play to run, Adams, give me an out, and I feel like that's what Rodgers is going to do.
I do think Adams is better this week than Cooper, just because at least he has that relationship with Rodgers, and
I do too.
means so much. And he's got he got traded a day before, and he doesn't play until Monday night, I think.
Yeah.
So he's got a little bit more time than Cooper does, and that established relationship. But if I can help it, I don't want either of them this week. That said, all right, as far as the Devontae Adams thing, it doesn't help the offense as a whole that much. It's probably good for Devontae Adams. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's good for Devontae Adams. But as far as the offense as a whole, I mean, okay, they took away play calling duties from Nathaniel Hackett,
Yeah.
but the guy they replaced him with, I'm blanking on his name now, but he's been on the same track record. He took over play calling duties for the Raiders and turned Derek Carr back into a pumpkin instantly. Derek Carr went from being an MVP candidate to the car that got run out of Vegas. And then in Tennessee, he took over after Arthur Smith went to Atlanta, and that offense fell apart immediately. So that's who they replaced Nathaniel Hackett with. And things aren't really any better. It's just this offense that would have looked really good 15 years ago with the way they run things. They don't use enough motion. And then on top of that, they need a yards after catch receiver. That's what they're missing from
They
this
don't
team.
have that.
That's not Devontae Adams.
That's not Devontae.
So does Cooper help the Bills?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am excited as a Josh Allen owner.
Yes, but again, it's a temper expectation sort of a situation. I think that what's his face? It all but kills his upward trajectory this year.
Keon Coleman.
And Keon Coleman. One of them will probably continue doing pretty okay, and the other one I think is going to fall off the face of the earth.
Okay,
It's hard
so
to say which one.
So saying that, I feel like Cooper will be / Diggs.
Yeah.
I feel like Shakir will move back to the old Gabe Davis, and then Coleman will find a spot. Now, I think Coleman's going to be on the downside, but I feel like it's going to be great for the team.
Yeah, it's great for the team.
everybody involved.
And saying I didn't say this earlier, Garrett Wilson is a target machine. Has been this whole year. Hasn't done much with it, but he's been a target machine, and now that's going to be siphoned off at least 3 or 4 catches a game, and Adams will do good, not the team.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, the question is who suffers more, Garrett Wilson or Alan Lazard? Like, who?
Yeah.
And
Wilson?
I think it's probably Wilson. Yeah,
I do too.
Rodgers loves his old Packers.
Maybe, but the thing about Lazard is that his big numbers always come on miracle stuff. So
Sure.
I don't think that anything around him is affected by that. It's just being the one who happens to grab that Hail Mary in the end zone. And that's what
That was
Lazard.
stuff.
It's just that's what he does. But let's put a little practicality to this. Joe is the one who has Devontae Adams in this league. If he were to sit him, his only actual options here: Jalen Wright or Michael Wilson.
Michael Wilson. I'd take Michael
You
Wilson.
take Michael
Over
Wilson
Adams?
over Adams?
Devontae Adams this week?
No.
Absolutely, I would.
I got him sort of on the same keel, but I might go Adams in that situation.
I would go
I
Adams,
might go
but
Adams
that's,
over
you know.
that.
All right.
But I like Michael Wilson too.
So now we'll go to injuries. There are so many.
Yeah, I can't.
Where-
I don't know where
so
to start.
So what I tried to do is narrow it down to the star players.
Mhm.
Harrison Jr.,
Concussion protocol.
James Cook. Who knows?
Yeah.
Deontay Johnson. Anybody?
Is he questionable?
Yes.
I got
Do we
6.
know what's the injury there?
They just said he didn't. Now this may be just one of these.
It could be
Veterans.
Wednesday. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's Wednesday, my
That's
dudes.
right.
I
So,
got
okay.
6
I will
questionable
say,
alerts this
if
morning.
Deontay Johnson is hurt, and we'll get into the games and all that later, but I'll suddenly be a lot more interested in Xavier Legette.
Okay, so I'll try and keep it. Aaron Jones didn't practice.
I think he's out this week.
Yeah, I think so
I
too.
think so too. They also just picked up Cam Akers, which
Yeah.
who knows what you want to touch in that backfield. Not Cam
Nothing.
Akers, but
No.
Ty Chandler might have a shot at something.
He's just trying to sell Ty Chandler, is all he's doing.
Hey, if you're interested in somebody who probably will be starting, I got him at rock bottom prices for you. Come to me.
So, what about Cooper Kupp?
It looks like he might play this week.
It does look
Right.
like he's going to play.
It felt like it was never going to happen. And like this was a surprise. I was looking today, and I was like, "Oh wait, Cooper Kupp could
Wow.
be back." And if he does, I think you do start him.
Oh, yes.
By the way.
Be watching out for that, definitely. Also, I saw Dallas Goedert may not play this week.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert apparently hurt his leg pretty good.
Yes.
I got a few of them too, Michael Pittman, but that could just be, is Joe Flacco out? I'm out kind of a thing. Debo Samuel got a questionable tag as well. It's probably this Wednesday thing for him because there's no information about what's happening to him. Evan Ingram back to questionable. Hey, that's fun.
And there was a very spicy one, guys. Jerome Ford looks like he's not playing. And
Chubb
I
is back.
heard from a little birdie, and I had to move him off the injured reserve, that Chubb may be back this week.
Might be. I don't know what to think about that.
He's going to play.
You start Chubb.
Yeah, I know. But-
Look, I got Chase Brown or a gimpy Chubb.
Yeah.
That didn't sound right, but I'm going with Chubb.
You know what? It's weird. I think I would go Chase Brown. If
I
it's between
understand.
those two, I would
I
go Chase
understand.
Brown. That said, I don't like saying sit Nick Chubb because it's Nick freaking Chubb.
I know, that's right.
It's just, I am, the resident pessimist here, but God bless, two of the exact same knee blow-ups in a career. What is a ceiling after something like
Well, but the thing is,
Chase Brown.
well, no. I would ordinarily agree with you, Evan, but Nick Chubb to me is a lot like Derrick Henry. This is not a normal human being.
That's true.
This is true.
He defies
He's
all
Nick Chubb.
logic and all biology because he did blow out that knee and came back
It was
just
great.
as good.
Yeah.
Didn't miss a step. And I know he's older, and I know this and that and the other, but it's still Nick Chubb.
He's 28. I wouldn't call that old.
It's old for running back.
Oh,
But he's
stop.
older than he was the
It's
last
about
time.
65 in
But
running back years.
he's had like 3 years off
mean,
of it
Zeke's-
because of injury, so he's got a little more wear.
Zeke is only 29. Look at him out there. He looks like he's
God,
got metal
that
knees.
can't be true.
It's true.
Dude, he just got
Wow.
drafted a couple of years ago.
That's insanity. No way.
Also, I do have ETN with out. He's an out this week.
Yeah, last I saw he was doubtful, so that's basically an out.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, we'll get into the backfield situations later.
Any other injuries y'all have for note?
I saw Kincaid ended up on the injury report today, but like Evan said, it's Wednesday. Everybody's popping up. Brian Robinson, I do not know what's going on with him at this point.
I
Please.
have him on there.
Najee Harris.
Here's-
which, whatever.
Here's to you, Mr. Robinson. Cuckoo, Mr. Robinson. Please play. I'm sorry that I used to make fun of you and your injury. Gun violence is a serious thing. I love you.
Do
I
you
want
still
you
have
back.
his nickname set?
We don't need to talk about
Okay,
that on the
just checking.
podcast.
One more. Jordan Mason, if he comes back this week, he came back for the one play, and I cannot stand Shanahan at all for this kind of
Yeah.
thing. He just he does it
He's a liar.
to
He's
bother us.
Yes. So,
I do think Mason probably plays. In which case, that's why I didn't go aggressive on Isaac
Yeah,
Garendo.
did somebody drop
my kid
a
can
whole bunch of money on Garendo?
Somebody spent so much money on Isaac Garendo.
but look, my kid can get behind the San Francisco
Yeah,
line
absolutely.
and kill it.
I've always said I could get 2 yards behind that line.
So, moving on, this one's going to be a little, I call it the spicy meatball. So,
He actually wrote it in his notebook.
I did write spicy, I did. I just didn't write it with the spicy meatball. So, this one's going to be interesting, guys. I looked at our league, and I looked at the overall fantasy numbers and the regular numbers. So, the first take, Bo Nix. Somebody was very high on Bo Nix last week.
Nobody was high on Bo
Somebody,
Nix
I think,
last
said
week.
QB3 on the week.
No,
Exactly.
sir. He
Yeah,
said
yes.
QB 24.
No, anyway,
Let's see if that panned out.
So Bo Nix, is he better fantasy-wise than Patrick Mahomes?
So far this year, he has been.
He is better this year.
Well, that's,
Going
I
forward,
don't like that.
going forward, no. But yes, he has been better so far.
Yeah, hey,
Patrick
I can.
Mahomes is one of those QBs that will always be top of the league. In fantasy, just doesn't pan out for
What-
whatever reason.
The last 2 games Bo Nix has played has been the Raiders and the Chargers, which might help.
Chargers defense is fantastic, though.
But, well, he did good
He
against them.
did. Well, he had a good fourth quarter. You know, it was interesting. I wanted to mention this, and since we're on Bo Nix, it felt a lot like I was watching Tim Tebow in Denver. 3
Oh.
quarters of garbage
And
and,
then
a
the
fourth
fourth
quarter of
Out of
amazing.
He
nowhere.
woke up. All right, so the next one. Tell me, guys, Kirk Cousins, is he better or worse than Geno Smith?
Worse? Is he worse than Geno Smith?
As far as so far this year, worse.
He is
In
worse.
fantasy, yeah.
He is worse.
Geno's been. I mean,
It's a high volume.
this was the story of last year, but he's continuing it.
Geno has the most yards in the NFL.
Really.
Well, I mean,
Really?
we've talked about this a little bit. It's the Seattle offense
It's
is
great.
the Washington college offense from last year.
Yep.
They love to air it out. I mean, it's not air raid principles, but it's got some air raid to it.
All right, so this one's going to get Foley all in his feelings. Bijan, better or worse, Kyron Williams?
Oh, that's an easy one. Kyron's like one of the top RBs on the year at this point.
Correct. Which
And
is
Bijan
just,
is not.
which is just crazy. Kyron has 7 touchdowns.
Nobody else is touching the ball.
I didn't realize that, until you actually look at it.
Whenever a player like that goes off and has himself a killer year, I think back a couple years until that time that I happened to pick up Kyron Williams, and he did nothing for me until I dropped him. Then I think you picked him up,
Yes,
and he
sir.
put up like 48 points
Sure
the following
did.
week. That
So-
was I don't like that.
So far we're doing great, guys.
Yeah.
So-
on topic.
Brian Robinson Jr.,
Huh?
better or worse than Swift?
Oh, now that's a tough one. That's a tough one because Robinson started off so hot and then Swift got
Swift
so
just picked
hot.
up.
I think they're close. I will go Swift, but I think it's really, really close.
I'm inclined to agree just because Swift has had himself 3 20-plus point weeks in a row.
Swift by a landslide.
By a landslide. I was
Yes.
not expecting that.
I say a landslide. This would be 13 points,
Okay.
which
That's a lot.
Which
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
there's
an
a
entire
big
week.
there's a big separation.
Yeah.
So this one got me. Jaden Reed, better or worse? Justin Jefferson.
Well, that's an easy one for me because I already did the research on wide receivers, which we're going to get into
Dang.
in a second. So I will defer to Evan on this one. I know the answer.
I'm inclined to say that it's Jefferson, but the way the question was posed makes me think that it's Jaden.
It is Jaden,
It is Jaden.
which is wild.
Yeah.
All right.
So
This is another one that's a good one. T. Higgins, better or worse? Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas Jr.
Worse, yeah. Brian Thomas, I think, would be on top.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's a huge landslide.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
because T didn't play
He didn't
what
do
the first 2
nothing
games.
for
That's
3
right.
weeks.
Yeah. So anyway, and the Bo Nix was 10 points higher than Patrick Mahomes.
So this is a good transition, I think, since you're just going through those wide receivers. Just like last week, we revisited the draft of running backs. I've got for you the consensus top 5 at draft time, the current leaders at running back, and then who I would have top 5, and I want to hear who y'all would have top 5. So the consensus wide receivers at draft time, number 1, CeeDee Lamb. Makes sense. Number 2, Tyreek Hill. That's where it gets a little bit sad.
That hurts.
That is sad.
That's like a Christian McCaffrey owner.
Yeah.
Oh.
It really is about as bad as a Christian McCaffrey owner.
Yeah.
Close to it.
Look,
close to it.
I'll throw the stats out and you'll be like, what?
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
It's rough. Number 3, Justin Jefferson. Number 4, Jamar Chase. Number 5, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
That one also makes me very
I will
sad.
go ahead and spoil for you. Of those top 5, there is only one on the current top 5.
That would be
doing-
Jamar Chase.
It would. Who is number 1, by the way.
That's right.
Despite a slow start, Jamar Chase, number 1 overall wide receiver so far. Number 2, Chris Godwin.
Yep.
Number 3, Nico Collins.
Wow,
Which
okay.
is crazy
That
because
would
he's on
surprise me a little
IR.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, now he's on IR, right? So, number 4, Jaden Reed. Number 5, I dare y'all to guess it.
Number 5.
Mooney.
No.
Who?
You know, is it Deebo Samuel?
It is not Deebo Samuel. It is Drake London.
Wow.
Number 5 on the season.
And we trashed Drake London like 4 episodes ago. Isn't that funny?
He's not been getting a ton of yards, but he's been getting those touchdowns, maybe, and catches. So, so I would say for me, if I were redrafting, and there's 2 ways to think about it, right? If you're just drafting for this point going forward, or if you were going back to August and drafting, I'm going to say I'm going back to August. Number 1, Jamar Chase. Number 2, still Justin Jefferson. And really, this is the same. I have the same answer either way, I think. Number 2, Justin Jefferson. Number 3, Chris Godwin. I still do, I would also get Mike Evans in the 2nd or 3rd round, but Chris Godwin, number 3. A.J. Brown, number 4 for me. A.J. Brown, his average is crazy. He's only played 2 games so far this year, but he has been in the 20s both weeks. He's only played week 1 in this past week, so he was hurt. Even if I were back in August, though, I think I would take that. I would just accept.
Sure.
I'm missing a few weeks, but he's going to be elite every week that he plays. And then number 5, I would take Malik Neighbors. That's my top 5.
I'll go first 3 correct. 4, I'm going to take Metcalf. I know he doesn't have the touchdowns.
I get it.
I know he doesn't have the touchdowns, but the yardage is there. Touchdowns are freak. I don't care what anybody says. A touchdown is a freak play in the NFL. I mean,
he's had a lot of touchdowns taken off the board.
Exactly. And then the last one, I probably would go Godwin.
So who's your 3? Because I had Godwin at 3.
Oh, CD. Sorry.
You had CD. Yeah, I don't have CD on my top 5.
I also would keep CD off my top 5, but it's not because of him.
Right, it's the offense.
I get that, but I once again, it's just like Justin Jefferson. He may not be at the top right now. I figure just too good to keep him off. It's more of a speculation.
Yeah.
I'm not going by the stats right now.
Right, yeah.
It's still too early.
I was surprised Malik Neighbors wasn't in the top 5. Even having missed some time with that concussion, I really expected him to be in there, but I would still have him in there going forward.
All right.
Evan, you got anything for your top 5?
Deebo Samuel. I'm keeping Deebo Samuel in my top 5. I love it. Keep it going, Deebo. I love you.
Even though Ayuk's better.
Ayuk is not better in fantasy this year.
Still a better person.
You like him as a person.
I like you as a person, Brandon. All right, so moving on, we'll go on down to the first game. We had the Broncos versus the Saints. The Broncos are 3-2. The Saints, bless their hearts, are 2-4 after a spectacular 2-game win streak.
Ugh.
They have dropped the last 4.
4 in a row.
So
it doesn't look a lot better.
It looks worse.
It does not appear that it's going to be getting better.
Look, it's getting real bad.
Shaheed's out. Lave's out. Fucking Bob, excuse the language, Bob Means is going to be number 1 wide receiver.
I disagree. It's going to be Mason Tipton, number 1.
You think Mason
No,
Tipton is going to
I
be
don't.
1? No. Bob Means.
And you also got to throw the quarterback / tight end / fullback is out this week.
He's out too. Yep, Taysom is out.
So I took a look at
Kamara's dealing with something.
Yeah,
I hadn't stopped him yet.
I took a look at the injury report. It is by far double what everybody else has. This is how bad it is. So saying that, first we'll go, let's just hit the Saints. Spencer Rattler. We had a 1-game sample size. What do y'all think?
I was not unimpressed with him. It wasn't good by any means, but he did, at one point in that game, lead a pretty impressive comeback. They lost the hold of it after that, but he didn't look bad. And if you recall, to the first episode we did, I called that Spencer Rattler was going to be the starting quarterback around week 5.
You did.
And there he is. He's probably going to go the rest of the year. I am wondering more than
Carr
anything.
will be back.
Stop it.
I think he goes the rest of the year. And
this is his last start.
He tore his oblique, right?
They said it was only a 2-week injury.
Yeah,
it's a 2-week injury.
Fine. But I like Rattler.
Plus, he don't have any wide receivers.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing I was going to bring up. Maybe, and I love him, maybe Chris Olave is a locker room cancer. Maybe. The reason I say that is because Derek Carr just absolutely hates him for whatever reason. I don't know what it is. And then on the first play, Spencer Rattler takes under center. He tries to get him murdered. Just right away.
Well, it succeeds.
And yeah, knocks him out.
He's gone.
For 2 weeks. I don't know.
So what you're saying is there was a reverse hit
Yeah.
on Chris
Reverse
Olave.
bounty game.
A reverse bounty game.
Reverse bounty
And
game.
it's their own teammates against
Yep.
each other.
There's something to it. Now, here's my question to the Saints fan. If you have any belief that Spencer Rattler could be something at all, do you want to sit him for this game and trot out Jake Haener as a sacrificial lamb a la Jacoby Brissett just because he has no weapons and it's a really good defense they're up against? The
Okay.
Broncos are good.
Yeah, the Broncos are solid. I've been running them 3 weeks.
Have you seen the Saints fans?
No.
And 2, they will murder you if you trot out Jake Haener over Spencer Rattler.
Yes. But that's a tricky thing because if Rattler gets out and lays a stinker,
It doesn't
they're
matter.
going to kill it. They come after him, too.
They're going after no
But
matter
just,
what. You
setting
lose.
aside like what the fans think or anything, what do you think is the correct football move?
I think the correct football move is to go with the stronger hand. I feel like Spencer Rattler is the
Okay.
stronger option in
Okay.
this case. They know Jake Haener is a known commodity to the way this offense works. And I don't think that they're really impressed with how that goes with him in the
So fantasy wise, he's a no go.
He's
Nah.
not even think about
not
it.
touching any of them.
There are 31 other quarterbacks I would
Yep.
rather put out there than
The
Spencer Rattler.
only fantasy relevant person is Kamara,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he might die this game.
Yeah,
I mean, they're going to have 10 people in the box every play, right?
I'm-
100%.
And Kamara's a little older. And, I mean, not a lot. Y'all just said running back years.
He's
so
28.
so
He's 28, I believe.
So he's
Or
probably
29.
literally he might die this game. So moving on to the Broncos, Bo Nix, I'm gonna say no.
You're saying no again. I'm so comfortable with him as a QB2.
26
It's going to be,
higher, 24.
I think I might go as high as QB 21 on the week overall.
Okay.
20 or 21.
It's not a bad week to start Bo Nix. If that's the kind of position that you're in, it's not a bad week for it because apparently the Saints are allergic to making tackles. I think I could see at least 22 points out of Bo Nix this weekend, at least.
And I feel like
That's
8 of
Thursday.
that, I'm throwing this crazy number, 8 points will come from rushing.
Yeah, he's got legs.
Mm-hmm.
They're like good legs, not just he literally just has 2 legs. He can actually do things.
He's unique in that way.
He has 2 fully functional legs. It's amazing how he got this far.
As opposed to Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to nip it in the bud. Kamara maybe. Everybody else.
Yeah.
This, I think, is the worst game of the week. And that's saying something when the Patriots are playing the Jaguars in London.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, truly, I don't think there's anyone in this game I would have any interest in other than Bo Nix. I don't think I want Cortland Sutton.
No.
And Kamara. I'm
You
sorry,
go
and
with
Kamara.
Kamara,
Yeah.
I still think in a regular 12-team league,
You don't want Nix in a 12 team.
you don't want anybody.
Or
And,
one
A
quarterback.
one quarterback. Yeah.
and I feel like Kamara is a maybe flex. I don't trust him in this game.
If he's healthy, you've got to start him. I think he's an auto starter if he's healthy. But again, we talked about last week.
I know,
He's
I
number
know.
2 on the year.
I know, but that's fixing to go way down. All right, moving on.
To that London game.
We got the London game. Turn your TVs on at 8:45 in the
No.
I
morning.
will not.
No, thank you.
And let's watch Drake May punish the Jaguars.
Drake
Don't
May
vote for
looks
Jacksonville.
pretty good.
He does.
Drake May looks pretty good. He took the Patriots from being completely unwatchable football to being one that you could put on in the background if you wanted to.
So
You don't want to sit there and watch, but you can have it on in the background.
little
Yeah.
static noise
Yeah.
going on. So, question. This is going to blow your minds. T. Law or Drake May?
Well, so it's so hard to say because there's only the 1 week of sample size.
Do you go
Trevor
off that
Lawrence
sample?
he's got Evan Ingram back. He didn't
Does
look
he?
yeah, well, okay. He's supposed to. He didn't look like the worst quarterback in the league this week. I think I'd lean towards Trevor Lawrence, but I would be very upset to be in a situation where those were my 2 choices.
So saying this, T-Law has basically 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns for the year, which is upper 15 quarterback.
Yeah.
So I feel like I love Drake May. I still feel like if you got T-Law against this matchup, decent matchup. The Patriots defense is not bad. Decent matchup.
They're doing pretty well.
I would agree. I would go Lawrence. I think Drake May is super flex worthy, but I would go Trevor Lawrence. Here's the question: Drake May or Bo Nix?
Drake May.
I think I would go Nix. As a Patriots fan,
As a Knicks lover.
No. As someone who
QB3.
has
Because he has 2 legs.
He likes him more than just as a person.
as someone who had Drake May as the number 1 quarterback the number 1 overall pick in this last NFL draft, I do love Drake May and I do love the Patriots. Even still, what we just saw was his ceiling, and for this year, in this offense, he put up 31 fantasy points. He's not going to do that.
No.
Probably again this year. We know that he has a better ceiling than Jacoby Brissett ever did, but his floor is still what Jacoby Brissett's floor was. This is a terrible environment around him. And I'm not going to go off that one sample size and say, oh, yeah, Drake May over Bo Nix, who has been pretty good the last few weeks.
Also, me and Foley talked to this before the podcast. Kayshon Boutte.
Yes.
Keep an eye out for the future.
Please,
Definitely not this game.
please, for the love of God, don't start him.
Yeah, don't
Although I will talk more about him later in this podcast.
don't spend $30 on him on your fab.
Yeah, no. However,
But you
we're-
will spend $63 for.
Yeah, I think that Boutte he's got the talent, and someone's got to step up other than DeMario Douglas and Hunter Henry.
That's what I was about to ask you about. How do you feel about DeMario?
He had a good game. I was surprised. DeMario Douglas, number 1 most picked up player of the week in Yahoo, more than Sean Tucker or any of those other. It was DeMario Douglas. And look, I had him a lot in best ball. He has the potential to be a PPR machine. I think we need more sample size for all of this, though.
Sure.
So, me going forward, I would say the only fantasy relevant in a regular league would be a on T-Law and thumbs up for Brian Thomas.
Thumbs up for Brian Thomas. I would happily start Hunter Henry in this game.
Probably, yes.
Well, okay.
And
So what about
not that I am the Henry owner and I'm not starting him, but that's because they have great tight ends.
what about Old Tank? I mean,
Okay,
you
yeah,
gonna
thank
take
you.
a
Thank
shot?
you for bringing that up. I'm going to have this same take for a few different backfields this week.
They're gross.
I am disgusted by the Jacksonville backfield. I want nothing to do with Tank Bigsby. The only good news is that Travis Etienne's probably not playing this week.
Yeah.
So that does help things, and maybe that, as I say it out loud, okay, maybe this week I would take a shot on Tank.
because he's unencumbered and he's the only
but
guy.
he's not unencumbered. He's not the only guy. Even with Etienne out, Dearness Johnson had more rushing yards last week than Tank Bigsby, and I think more.
Did he really?
And I think
He
more
did.
carries than Tank Bigsby
I
last
still
week.
Tank had a
nothing-
terrible week
I
last
He
still
did.
want nothing
It
with
was
him.
Dearness Johnson the whole game.
But New England, their defense is pretty okay, but their rush defense is not.
No,
very
it's not.
good. So I don't know.
You can talk me into Bigsby. Right now, I would say I would prefer not to, but if you had to, I don't hate it.
Of course, it depends on what you have left
That's right.
on your team.
That's right.
Next, we'll go with the Seahawks versus the Falcons. The Seahawks are 3-3. The Falcons are 4-2. Let's go with the Seahawks. Geno Smith.
You mean the passing leader, Geno Smith?
You starting him, baby.
Yeah, 100%.
Chiquita, do you have him or Najee Harris this week? I haven't looked at your lineup.
Why are you so interested in who I'm playing?
If you got Geno, you start him. Next is Ken Walker.
I think you gotta take your shot
He's
on him.
the only thing he's getting is touchdowns. That's it.
And he had that one massive game against the Lions.
Well, but other than that, he's got 5 TDs.
Again, it's the Seahawks just love to pass. They are a pass-happy team, and they find ways to mostly make it work, so you can't blame them, really. But, I mean, Ken Walker, I think you've still got to start him. You've got to.
Metcalf's a start.
Metcalf's a start.
Jackson is a flex.
He is in that conversation. He's one that I would call a desperation play. I wouldn't want to. By the way, I had him. This was technically a miss on Foley, but I was close. I had him outside the top 40 last week. He finished at wide receiver 37. So it's a
Foley,
miss, but
Foley bad.
Foley missed it. But I think he's better than wide receiver 37 this week. But I think
not much.
I think you can probably find better options than him at a flex. Oh, sorry, that's on the Falcons side though. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of am shying away from all Seahawks receivers and running backs, honestly. I would, if you have Ken Walker, you're going to start him. But as far as the wide receivers, they have had this it's almost like a Sean Payton effect, where 1 week one of them is going to look really good and the rest of them like they can't do anything. And the next week it's going to be another guy. And then Tyler Lockett's going to catch a touchdown for no reason.
Well, I feel like that's what you have to play with. That's what you're going to play with Atlanta. That's what you're going to play with the Bears. That's just how it goes. You can't, like I said earlier, you cannot predict touchdowns. So the reason I said start Metcalf is he's got 470 yards on the year, which is far and ahead.
He's going to get his deep ball. He is the guy, but even that, I don't know.
I mean, even last week, I don't think he got a touchdown last week, but there was the one that was, if he were wearing white cleats, it would have been called a touchdown. And then there were two that got taken off from penalties. So he was close to having 3 touchdowns last week, and they just got wiped off the board. So it's there for him. DK's, as much as I still have my problems with how he plays the game, for fantasy, you gotta be.
I wouldn't say that if you got him, there's probably not much better that you have to replace him. It just makes me nervous, and it's not something I would want to really mess with.
So now for your Atlanta Falcons, we got Mr. Cousins.
Kirko Chains.
Gotta be a start.
100.
Has to be. I don't really think that's any doubt.
To be honest, his weekly numbers are looking a lot worse than I was thinking that they were. Had a monster against Tampa Bay, but everything else has been sub 14.
The 500 yards kind of
skews the numbers.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, look, I think the Atlanta team, though, it really is. I heard someone else kind of make this comparison, but I'm going to change it a little bit. It's like playing Cyberpunk 2077 or any other role-playing game where you can just go straight through the base game, right? But you unlock all kinds of weapons, extra weapons, if you do these side missions, these side quests. And so Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator, is going on all these side quests. How are we going to have a monster game from Darnell Mooney and unlock him? We're going to unlock Kyle Pitts. This has been the thing, the final boss.
That DLC has not been released.
That's been hidden forever. No, 2 weeks in a row now.
It's been shelved.
He has unlocked Kyle Pitts. Now he's going to unlock. Is he going to unlock Ray next? I don't know.
Look,
he's working on Bijan.
No. They've already.
Ray is not happening.
He's working on the Bijan skill tree right now. There's something going on. I mean, really, truly, though, my point is this offense gets better every week. They're figuring things out. It's a first-time offensive coordinator. It's Cousins getting used to a new place.
Who's going to let the defense know, though? This is a great side quest. The defense is in the kitchen getting a coat.
Well, I mean, the side quests are working out, though. My point is just that the Atlanta offense is getting better every week. And we complain about Tyler Algier. I think what we're starting to get in that backfield, though, is a world where it works for both of them.
Look, Thunder and Lightning.
Exactly. The Thunder and Lightning, Mark Ingram and or Reggie Bushback or Alvin Kamara. It's that kind of thing that Arthur Smith, it was always just one or the other.
I was more along the Giants back in the day.
Well,
go ahead.
Robinson
older people would get that one.
But Robinson is figuring out a way to make them both. Zach Robinson, that is figuring out a way to make them both work, and I like that. I think it's only going to get better for both of them. I'm not necessarily saying I would want to start Algier yet, but I'm warming up to the idea.
Well, I feel like once again the Falcons is a team that you start everybody.
Yeah, including Ray, right?
No, not Ray.
No, it said everybody, not nobody's.
The final boss really is getting Ray.
The final boss is not Ray.
It's getting him a touchdown because he still doesn't have a touchdown this
and that's
year.
probably going to be the whole year.
When that happens, if that happens,
We'll have to hear it.
That week's podcast, you can go ahead and just not listen to that.
It'll be Foley by himself.
It'll be just him.
We'll do a special episode.
So, anything else on the Falcons, guys?
I don't like him. Moving on.
I'm closer and closer to being back in on Kyle Pitts. I am borderline back in on Kyle Pitts.
Nope, it was a trick.
It's 2 weeks in a row now.
Much like Admiral Akbar said, it's
I-
a trap. It's a trap.
Speaking of, I'm like 20 or 30 minutes into the movie Trap. It's interesting. So
I
far.
enjoyed it. I
I'm-
really did
I'm
enjoy
gonna
it.
finish it after this.
You'll like the end.
I have a theory about what the twist is.
It's
I
not
don't know
regular
this
Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan's new movie with Josh Hartnett.
Oh, at the concert.
Yeah. Sorry
Pretty
to
good.
completely derail this, but you said Trap. And, our listeners like movies, so we can talk about that every week, too.
Absolutely.
I would rather talk about Josh Hartnett movies than Ray Ray McCloud.
Best Josh Hartnett movie of all time, Lucky Number 11.
All right. Where
Trap.
are we at?
Trap. Anyway, next game, Titans versus the Bills. The Titans are 1-4 with a shaky Will Levis. The Bills are 4-2. Let's start with the Titans. Will
Okay,
Levis with 700 yards for the year.
I want our listeners to know that once again we are all holding hands as I say this. There's a tear in my eye. I think I'm out on Will Levis.
Oh, no.
Yes, you drop him.
Wow.
If
It's even-
unless you're on Superflex, you drop him. If
Even
you
on-
ever had him,
On Superflex, it's
sad.
even
I mean,
on
you'd be better
Superflex-
off putting a tight end most weeks.
That's right. Yeah, the only reason to even hold on to him in Superflex at this point, and again, Will Levis lover over here. It is painful for me to say this. The only reason to hold on to him is just in case you're in a situation where you don't have any quarterback during a bye week, and so you just need to put someone in at the where you can't even Superflex.
Right.
That's the only reason to have him on your roster. You don't want to Superflex him at this point. It has been bad. And
Real
it
bad.
shouldn't have been this bad with the weapons he was given. It's rough. I'm out on Will Levis.
DeAndre Hopkins is your leading receiver
And-
with
and
And
it's
a
2020
hundred-
is still great.
175 yards.
Ugh.
The formerly known corpse as DeAndre Hopkins in the end zone.
Who called it last week that Calvin Ridley would finish outside the top 50 wide receivers?
Most people.
Calvin
No.
who? Calvin who?
I remember some people being like, "Oh, top 50, that's way too."
I don't remember saying
Uh-huh.
anything like that.
Definitely ahead of Ray Ray though.
He did not finish ahead of Ray Ray
Nobody-
this
He
week.
probably should have something. Anyway,
I'll tell you what, though. Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard.
give
is
him
there.
look. That's two
That's the-
thumbs up right there,
That's
buddy.
the only
Pollard.
Titan.
Yeah,
Start that man with all you got,
I will.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Bills, Josh Allen. That's always a start. James Cook, I don't know.
He's
The-
limited today,
the
which is a good
scratch-
sign.
That is a good
The
sign.
scratch on Monday night cost me a game. Not really happy about
It
that.
saved me a game, boy.
Yeah.
I don't know really what to tell you with that. Of course, if he starts, you got to start him, I feel like. And now we get to the interesting part. You know you start Allen. Cook, you're probably going to start if he's starting.
Yep.
Wide receivers. Who are we starting?
None.
I'm going with
None.
Cooper, but I don't have a better option, honestly. I'm still going with Cooper. Like I said, I'm not expecting a week like Jawan Jennings had a couple of weeks back where he puts up 50 points.
Shakir is
He's
going
got a
to.
safe floor.
This is going to be Shakir's breakout game. I feel
Maybe.
like.
That is a spicy take.
I think.
I like
I mean, you're the Cooper owner, but here's my thing: if you're someone who owns Amari Cooper, you probably had him on your bench for a couple weeks at this point.
Uh-uh.
So unless,
Well, that's probably because
Unless
of
you have
Deshaun
no
Watson.
other receiving.
As
well, yeah,
opposed
I
to
know, I
Amari
get it
Cooper.
because of Deshaun, but you've had him on your bench this last couple of weeks. So why rush him into your starting lineup now? If you've made other plans, like you figured out how to field a starting lineup without him, why rush him out there before he gets a chance?
Well, probably
In
because
my-
you had Cooper, or you had Cooper, but you also had like Olave, who you thought was going to be like your
Yeah,
number
fair
one wide
enough.
receiver.
That's basically what
That's
I'm saying.
what's
Like,
coming
in
down.
my situation, between 1 and 3 o'clock today, I got 6 different questionable notifications on players on my team. So Cooper's gonna go in no matter what, because he's the only one that's apparently fully healthy and ready to run. would not blame him for not being immediately in sync with the team. I think he still has a pretty okay week.
So, that's about it for those two teams?
Yeah, I mean, the tight end, Dalton Kincaid is startable. Not you don't have to start him, but you're fine starting
Well,
him.
I said earlier in the year, Kincaid, Knox, it's going to be one of those pretty much every week is going to catch a touchdown-ish.
Knox got the touchdown last week.
Moving on, we got the Battle of the Orange. It's the Bengals versus the Browns. The Bengals are 2-4. The Browns are 1-5. Deshaun Watson has massaged the league with 1,020 yards and 5 touchdowns.
That
He's got to
shocks
be
me.
lower than Drake May.
To quote Stephen A. Smith, Deshaun Watson is so awful
So
that
hang on.
if you arrested him for being so awful, I'd be okay with that. I mean,
So-
he got away with all his other crimes, but you could still arrest him for being awful.
So saying that, next time you quote Stephen A. Smith, you have to really yell at the microphone.
This was what was so great about that.
It was
Stephen
quiet?
He was quiet.
I don't believe
he
it.
was quieter than I just was.
I don't believe it.
He was being real still and quiet as he just said, as he casually suggested.
And as I
You
lean,
should
Arrest
arrest
him
him.
for being bad.
and as I lean in toward the mic, Stephen A. Smith, I don't care to ever eat with you. Just saying.
That said, Stephen A., if you want to come on the podcast,
Well,
it'd be great
nope.
for ratings. It would be great for
I will
ratings.
cut it. So moving on, Jerome Ford is the leader. I don't think he's going to play this week. Nicholas Chubb, we went over earlier.
Yeah, you're going to start him if you got him, and he plays. You're for sure going to do it. Everybody else, maybe Njoku, maybe, but
That's a reach.
I'm going to say bench Njoku. I mean,
I don't think you start anybody
No.
around the Browns.
the closest
agree.
one. And Chubb
Other than
would
Chubb.
start if he's in and he's going. You're going to start him. Only, like, dancing the line is Njoku, only because he hasn't been awful. He's doing pretty okay for tight ends because they're
That's not really
terrible.
saying a whole lot
well,
this
yeah,
year.
but he's one that I would start if I was in a situation like I'm kind of in, where you just got to put somebody in there.
So we'll move on to the Bengals. Your quarterback, Joe Burrow, who is off to a nice start this year.
Love him.
Got to start him. Brown, the running back, I think he's pretty much took over 75-25. If you got him, he's probably worth a start. Flex.
I would start Chase Brown.
Now moving on to the wide receivers. Who are we starting?
You're starting Jamar. You're starting T.
Yep.
I don't know. That's one of those teams that I could not trust either of their tight ends.
No.
I
It's just
stay away
those
from
two.
them both. Yeah, it's just those two.
Anything else on those guys?
No, I mean, I'll say Zach Moss is still a desperation flex play, but it's one of those, like I've said with someone like Tank Bigsby. There are better options out there.
Yes.
You should be able to find someone better. But if you have to, okay.
Close the eye and click that button. So moving on, we'll get to, let's see, the Texans versus the Packers. The Texans are 5-1. Look at that. The Packers are 4-2. Let's talk about C.J. Stroud with a good year so far. Of course, you're starting him, right?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say so. Oh, by the way, I just remembered who I'm playing this week. You should start Will Levis, by the way. I just want to
Nope.
go back and say
Not happening.
Uriah should start Will Levis.
Nope.
Anyways, yeah, C.J. Stroud has been amazing. It's incredible. Props to him and props to Bobby Slowick. I love the offensive coordinator over there. He loses Nico, but he's going to keep on trucking.
Yep. Diggs actually stepped up in a pretty big way
did.
So did
with
Dale.
Nico out. The kid that all the experts were saying was going to fill that Nico role the closest to what Nico could do, Xavier Hutchinson, did nothing. And
You didn't hear this expert say that.
well, it was.
Or this one? That was with the question mark. when
I said
that.
experts. I didn't say you two.
I'm an expert. I don't know about Uriah.
But he
Excuse
didn't do
me?
anything. But yeah, Diggs. I mean,
87% of the time, I'm right all the time.
Fun fact for you. I gave the top 5 wide receivers through the season so far. Number 6, though, Stephon Diggs.
Is it really?
Quietly.
Oh, good for him. Yeah, you're going with Diggs. It there's no other option.
Now, Mixon.
Yay! Joe Mixon is back,
Hell
and he
yeah.
killed it last week.
He is all the way back.
Great.
I've got to say, on a personal note about our league, I really did come so close to sending Evan an offer for Amari Cooper and Joe Mixon that I think he would have taken.
Well, what was it going to
And
be?
it looks...
Ray.
No.
What was it going to be?
Bowers and Pickens when Pickens was good. When Pickens was doing
Pickens
really,
hadn't
really
scored
well.
a touchdown this year.
I don't think I
But
would have
Pickens,
taken that.
Pickens was doing really, really well. And Mixon was like, is he ever going to play again? Cooper was bad every week.
Look, we'll get
I
to.
felt like you were going to take it.
You could have got me there with Bowers, but not with Pickens. There's probably somebody else I would have jumped on.
So, okay, I do have a question. Y'all said Joe Mixon. Yes, emphatic thumbs up. We're going with it. He's got 286 yards.
We've been out.
He missed like 4 weeks.
I can't help that. I'm just asking. Don't shoot the
Hang
messenger.
on.
But it's his average of
Average is
complete
more
games.
important. He has had a 23.8 point game and a 25.2 point game. And then in the game that he got hurt, he still had 5 points. And he went out fairly early.
Okay, it was just a question, guys. You don't
Joe
have
Mixon,
to shoot
you're
me.
going with Joe Mixon.
It wasn't that early. It was the third
They
quarter.
really like you,
That's
Joe.
pretty early,
so
man. It's pretty early.
I mean, it's 4
They're
quarters.
You know how many minutes are in a quarter, dude? Like a lot.
Okay.
But still, no, I think Mixon... I think that what we saw when they were missing Mixon is how desperately they need him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was what they were missing all of last year. It was what cost them in the playoffs. They want to feed Mixon.
This is why I was so excited for him coming into this season.
Yep.
I just knew that he could fit that role really well, and he is. You're going with Joe Mixon for sure.
So, moving on to the Packers. Jordan Love. That's got to be a start, guys, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Most
I
likely.
called him to be a top 3 last week, and he was. And I don't think he'll be top 3 this week, but he'll be good.
That was Foley tooting his horn.
Damn straight.
Listen, Josh,
we celebrate our wins and gloss over our losses.
like any man should do.
Exactly.
So, moving on, we got Josh Jacobs. He's got 1 touchdown, but he's still a start.
You still start him, yeah, I agree.
And, I mean, how Love has 1,100 yards and Reed is the only person that can catch the ball there, I don't know, but...
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he's not the only one who can catch it. He's just the only one who can catch it consistently. Who's it going to be? It's been Dontavian Wicks 1 week. It's been Christian Watson 1 week.
Wicks
it's
is
been
out
Romeo
this week.
Dobbs 1 week. Okay, Wicks is out. I wasn't sure about that, but yeah.
Well, excuse me, questionable, but...
Okay, but yeah, it's take your pick. None of them is my answer.
Jaden Reed's the only one
but
right.
Jaden Reed, exactly. And Tucker Kraft.
And Tucker Kraft is
Lord,
safe
here
enough
we go.
play.
Although
He was not one of the booms of the week last week.
He was one that I missed.
But
and I was happy
it
to miss
wasn't-
it. 'cause
Y'all
you
both
have him.
missed that one.
it wasn't. I don't know. I'm still trusting Tucker Kraft until I get a lot of
Yeah,
no production.
you still got to trust him for now.
So, moving on, next game. Dolphins versus the Colts. The Dolphins are 2-3, who are basically going down with the ship. The Colts are 3-3. What are we doing here with Huntley? I saw somebody picked him up this week.
For $0.
Can you start him?
No, no.
If you start him, I'll start Levis.
No.
Ooh, that would be fun.
I'll do it.
That would be real fun. I'd enjoy that a lot.
Let me look at your roster and then I'll just...
No. This is a podcast-only event.
Uh-oh.
You start Tyler Huntley.
I'm not taking that deal.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, I'll start Brock Purdy then.
you know what? That's fine. We'll get more into that later. Now, for me, Tyler Huntley, I did pick him up, and it really is just a depth move of, like I was saying with Levis, the only reason you keep him on the roster is in case all of your other players are hurt or on bye. This was me, just in case something goes down. I have an emergency quarterback. Now, I think we should have a league rule updated, just like the NFL did. So you have an emergency quarterback that doesn't count against your roster
That's
spots.
anything.
Yeah.
I like it.
But that's the only way.
We'll vote that in next year.
I think when I went through it, I had Huntley as like QB 28. And, I mean, again, for me, the cutoff is 24. So I'm not really interested in starting him. What I am interested in, and I think it's worth monitoring, is just, okay, things have been a disaster since Tua got hurt.
Definitely.
However, I still have to respect Mike McDaniel on some level just as an offensive coordinator. Not a head coach, but
I
as
do
an offensive
not
coordinator.
trust a white guy with a jerry curl.
Fair enough.
I cannot do it.
But what I'll say is...
No offense to jerry curls, but Mike McDaniel can cannot carry a Jericho.
He has had a bye week now. Things have been such a disaster. On some level, I've got to wonder if Mike McDaniel has schemed something up to better fit Tyler Huntley. Because Huntley just can't do what Tua can do. But has McDaniel figured something out that makes Huntley able to get the ball in the hands of the playmakers? That's my big question.
Okay,
That's something to monitor.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Evan. I like your take, but your other playmakers is the leading rusher A-Chain with 183 yards and Tyreek Hill with 286 and 1 touchdown. How are those playmakers?
It's been a disaster since Tua went out. No, I'm not. No.
You cannot start anybody on the Dolphins.
Rewind to week 1. Remember the game Tyreek had after he got arrested.
I know.
Maybe he just needs to get arrested every week. I don't know. But again, my thing is, it's been bad, but we know it's not a talent issue with these playmakers.
No,
we
it's
know
a
that
quarterback.
Tyreek Hill is talented. We know that Devon Achane is talented.
You can't get it to the people.
That's right. And so my question is just, can McDaniel scheme something up? And he has shown the ability to be innovative and to be a good – I don't think he's a good head coach necessarily, but he's a good offensive coordinator, and I think there's at least a chance that he's innovative enough. I would comfortably start Tyreek Hill this week. I would comfortably start Devon Achane this week. I don't want anything to do with Jalen Waddle.
I can't do it. Anything other than him running the belly option is the only way this team would be decent. I cannot start any of them. Tyreek Hill would be a flex spot for me just because of the quarterback. I love his talent. I love him as a person. I don't care.
I don't know if I love him as a person. I've seen some of his TikToks. It's a little annoying.
Tyreek,
I can see what you're saying.
Tyreek, with holding hands and a glimmer in my eye, I'll get you out of that cell. Call your eyes bell bonding. Moving on.
A surprise sponsor.
I can see a little mid-show sponsor. I can see what you're talking about, but even with the maybes about if he's deemed up any sort of a program that's going to work, I can't get behind it this week. They will have this week to show me if they've done it. But Tyreek Hill is starting. I mean, you're going with Tyreek Hill any other way, but I too am just kind of out on the rest of them. At least this week.
I mean, for me, it's what I'll say is, if it's not this week, then I am out until Tua is back.
Flex
on all of them. I wouldn't even start Tyreek past this week if he doesn't have a decent week this week.
Flex Chase Brown. Flex Tyreek Hill. Devin?
Yeah, I think
Chase Brown all day.
I tend to lean towards the higher ceiling, and Tyreek is.
I'm going to be a realist.
2-3 more stories.
Yeah, I mean, I also would flex lean towards wide receivers when I can, just because point per reception. But yeah, no, Tyreek. But this might be my last week saying that.
All right, so moving on to the Kills.
Everything depends on
Flacco
whether
or AR.
If they start Flacco,
I agree.
If they start AR, that's two completely different teams.
So basically, if you have Flacco starting, you start Jonathan Taylor and Alex Pierce. And if you have AR starting, you start AR-ish.
Yeah, you start AR.
No, you do not start AR. That was a trick question. You'll both fail.
I am, and this is just owner bias, but I'm going with Pittman too. If Flacco's in there,
if he's alive,
if he's alive, he didn't have a killer week last week. He's still dealing with a back issue, and this won't he thing with the back issue. It's either the conspiracy theory that he's holding out to get Flacco. It's either that, or he has a compressed nerve, which is actually very scary.
You're missing the big thing. All right, we were on this podcast last week, and he was like, "Oh crap, his back is hurt." But then he listened to our podcast, and he got the bench warmer massage chair and suited up. That's all this is. He got the bench warmer massage chair, and now he's okay.
If we could only get one of those in each stadium.
That's right.
Dude.
He was fine after he did. So he's going to, before the game, he's going to get in the massage chair. He's going to kind of rub into it. He's going to feel great, but it does still depend on who his quarterback is.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you're starting him either way if he plays.
Yeah,
really. Either way, you're starting.
I think you've got to. I can tell you from experience. You got to. You're not getting a whole lot better out of that. You don't know what you're about to get out of this thing. If AR is in, you might end up with a 2-point game at most.
If you heard me a while ago say that I didn't care for Tyreek Hill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Starting. I would take Tyreek Hill over any wide receiver there.
with
I
AR
wouldn't-
under center.
I would
with
not.
AR under center.
Right.
I'm
With
sorry.
AR under center, I would not blame you one bit for that because you just can't tell. There's no logic to it.
Where I will go on the with or without split is with Joe Flacco, I will start Josh Downs. With AR, I will sit Josh Downs. That's it for me. And Pierce is a sit either way. Mitchell's a sit either way.
I agree. Moving on, Lions and the Vikings. The Lions are 4-1. The Vikings are 5-0.
Game of the week.
This is my call for game of the week by a long shot. I don't know if it's going to be a shootout. I don't know if it's going to be a defensive struggle. Either way, this is going to be the most entertaining game of the week.
Sam the man's going to have a little time back there
With
to
no
dissect.
Aiden Hutchinson, it's not going to be a low-scoring game, I don't think. Or if it is, it's going to be because the Lions keep blowing out.
We'll start with the Lions. Jared Goff, got to start.
Got to start. But, well, here's the thing, and this is, all right, resident Lions fan here. I have been talking on this podcast all year about the Vikings defense. Fade, and I started saying fade players, especially quarterbacks who are facing this Vikings defense. They have messed up every quarterback they have faced. They are confusing as hell. That said, last year, the Lions were the one team, and offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, the one coach, who was always one step ahead of Brian Flores' defense. It was like he knew every time Flores was going to send pressure. He could just diagnose it. He and Jared Goff had all the answers. It was really impressive. It was exciting to watch those games last year. I think it's still exciting this year. Maybe Flores does get the upper hand this time, but yeah, I'm leaning towards the Lions having a good game, even against this rough matchup.
Who has more touchdowns, Sam Darnold or Jared Goff?
Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I think so. There's something
He has
about,
11.
There's something about. Oh, you mean on the year? So,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
On the year.
I was thinking
I'm sorry.
in the game.
It's gonna. Sam Darnold's the right answer
In
on
the
that
game as
question
well.
too.
Yeah, probably so.
Mhm.
If we're being honest, I mean it's the Lions. Yeah, they have a lot of rushing touchdowns. David
They
Montgomery
sure do.
has a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, David
You're
Montgomery.
starting Montgomery.
100%. I
Yeah.
probably won't not start him for the rest of the season.
Look, it's a fantastic matchup. I said the same thing last week where I would have had one of the Lions running backs on my boom of the week, except they're both there, and they're both going to be good.
And they're both
it's hard
working.
Yeah, I think they have
solid.
another phenomenal matchup. As scary as their pass rush is, they're not as tough on run defense. And the Lions have the best offensive line in football, especially for run blocking. I think it's a no-brainer to start either one of them every single week.
It breaks my heart about Amon-Ra and this season.
I was just fixing to ask you: are we starting Amon-Ra?
Yeah, again, and I hate to just sit here and repeat myself all the time, but if you got him, you're gonna start him. But I wouldn't expect last year's Amon-Ra, and I don't exactly know why. But he's been perfectly good.
Yeah,
He's been
good.
100% your wide receiver too. Has been 100%. But I don't know. Maybe it's just overexcitement from last season. Maybe I'm just having a bit of a hangover from how good he was last year.
Yeah, I mean he's still been good.
Yeah.
He just hasn't been elite. He hasn't been the top 5 guy. I mean, again, he was number 5 on the consensus before the year, and he hasn't been that. But he's still been good, like a 10 to 15, and I think he'll continue to be that. Yeah, I mean, as far as the receivers go, it's always tough for me to say start JMO, and
I just don't like it. I just don't like. And he's been doing
He's
great.
leading the team.
It feels gross to say.
It does. As someone who likes JMO and has been pulling for him, I would still bench him. If he's one of those like desperation flexes, but see what your other options are. I would advise against it personally. And Laporta, you're starting, but Laporta's
You're not gonna like it.
Laporta's been a much bigger disappointment than Amon-Ra St. Brown, in my opinion. And it's one of those kind of like I was just talking
Panay
about.
Sewell looked better catching balls.
Ooh,
That's
good
true.
God.
Sam
Taylor
Laporta.
Decker, all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot like what I said with the Atlanta offense going on these side quests. It kind of feels like that. They unlock JMO, Then they started getting Amon-Ra back in. They figured out how to have both of these running backs do well.
And then they forget about Emma.
Right. Well, but now they've forgotten about Laporta. But is that the next side quest? They had their side quest for the Cowboys being get the ball to offensive linemen.
Let's do whatever ridiculous thing we can do to make Jerry feel bad on his
because there was
birthday.
a controversy last year against the
Yeah.
Cowboys.
Oh yeah,
about
I
that.
remember.
But at some point, I feel like they are going to figure out Sam Laporta. That said, he's never going to live up to where you drafted him. And you start him this week, just don't feel great about it, is what that comes down to.
So moving on to the Vikings, Sam Darnold. He's a start.
100%. You're starting Sam. You're starting JJ.
Although
you're starting Addison as a flex.
I'm
Don't you
on the fence about Addison.
guys? We just talked about this was going to be a shootout, and now y'all dinging my guy.
I'm not saying that he's.
shootout.
I'm not going to say that he's going to be terrible. I'm not saying he's going to lay a goose egg.
They dinged him.
But I'm on the fence about.
So
Addison.
He's another one. He's a lot like JMO for me. Gun to my head, JMO.
See, I think Williams is a start, and I think Addison's a start.
If you put a gun to my head, Jameson Williams or Jordan Addison, I would probably go Jordan Addison, but I don't want to start either of them.
I think the only
Please don't
questionable,
put a gun to my head.
the only questionable thing is Aaron Jones. If he plays,
he's going to be out.
I don't think he's
I
gonna
don't
play.
think he plays this week.
If he
Ty
plays-
Chandler starts.
if you play, you start him. If he doesn't, you don't start any Vikings running back.
Yeah, no,
Even though it's a shootout.
I don't want Ty Chandler.
No, Ty Chandler is not very good.
R.I.P. Aiden Hutchinson's leg though.
Yeah,
Oof.
that was sad.
Sad to
And
see.
also, I got real tired of coming across the picture of it over and over and over again on social media.
Thank
I don't
God
know
I
why
hadn't-
people do that.
I hadn't seen it. Thank
Oh,
God.
it's awful.
It's pretty
It's
rough.
awful.
It's
It
like a
reminded
snake.
me a lot of when Dak had his ankle just
Yeah.
explode.
Which
a few
was
years
worse?
back. Aiden Hutchinson was
Theismann
worse.
was worse.
No,
Alex Smith was worse.
that's what Alex Smith. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
It was not nearly as bad as
That,
Alex
that
Smith.
one almost killed him.
Moving on, Eagles versus the Giants. The Eagles are 3-2. The Giants are 2-4. Jalen Hurts. I don't know about the freaking Eagles. I'm tired of them. I'm questionable.
Who called Jalen Hurts to finish outside the top 5 last
You
week?
shut your dirty mouth.
6 touchdowns,
Listen.
4 interceptions on the season. 6
Yeah, I mean, he's been fine. He's
4
not.
interceptions.
He's
It's
not the
not.
QB2
He's
that
not
we
the-
drafted.
he's
I
not the
would
first-
not count that as even fine.
He's not your first round quarterback
No.
draft.
Six touchdowns is fine. You don't care about the interceptions. 6 touchdowns.
Nah, yeah, good interception.
All right, yeah, I guess we don't
That's
do
just a
negative
glorifi-
points or
That's
whatever.
just a
in this
glorified
league, but
punt.
That's
right.
huge. They can be very big, and it just Saquon. That's-
Got to start.
You're going Saquon.
No, yeah.
AJ, you're starting.
Devontae,
Devontae's a
you
flex.
start. Devontae is leading the team.
I would start Devontae. Well, he's leading the team because
AJ's been-
everybody's been out. Yeah,
been
AJ's been out.
Can't help that. Stats, man. I can't help that.
AJ Brown
You're
is
starting both of them.
a stud, but yeah, I'm fine with starting Devontae as well. You said Goddard might not play this week.
Yeah, that's my hot take.
Yeah.
You
If
don't
he does
start
play,
Goddard,
don't
he's
start
out.
him anyways. Even if he does play,
Yeah.
just leave him alone. Leave him on your bench. I think is there anything else on the Eagles? Because the Giants are where I've got more to say.
Daniel Jones starting.
Start Daniel Jones, actually. Yeah, sure. Why not?
1350 on the year with 6 touchdowns.
The backfield is. I'm just going to repeat what I
Gross.
said last week and what I've already said about Jacksonville, and I have another team that I'm going to say the same thing. But I mean, look, it was another week of Devin Singletary being out, so it was Tyrone Tracy again, and Tracy looks great.
Yeah.
What?
There is one analyst who I love this comp, or not even a comp, but analysis of the way he plays. He's like a determined drunk the way he plays, and you
Yeah.
can't pull down a determined
Nope.
drunk. There's no stopping him when he decides where he wants to go. That said, Devin Singletary probably back this week, and you don't know what's going to happen. It's probably not going to be what you want to see.
Yeah, either way.
Either way, yeah, as someone who owns both of them,
Yeah.
I would just like Singletary to stay out for a while because I can't start either of them until we get more clarity. And probably I'm not going to like what the clarity turns out to be, where it's this ugly timeshare and they're both unusable because Singletary has this familiarity with the head coach, and Tracy's just good, so they're both going to get a lot of time, I think.
Malik Neighbors. That's 2 hands in the air.
If he's back,
Yeah,
last
he
week
started.
I called him for a
Yeah.
boom.
I
and
think
then
he's going to play, but
was out again.
I feel like last week, this is just off topic, but I feel like, you get these things, people talking about the worst beat they've ever seen or the worst performance out of the team. I feel like last week was the absolute worst across all fantasy football leagues. There was some guy in just about every league who ended 100 points behind the next closest person.
So we're talking about Matt?
Wow. Why you guys shoot shots fired?
I didn't say anything about that, but yeah, for sure, man. Because there was a lot of one catch. I'm gone in the league.
I was that guy in another league, so I get it.
So moving on, we have the Raiders versus the Rams. Blech. The Raiders are 2-4. The Rams are 1-4. Raiders, Aiden O'Connell. No.
Again,
Madison.
do not sign this at home, kids.
Oh,
Madison, no.
I'm starting AOC because.
Oh my Lord.
And I don't want anyone else to do this. I do not think you should do it. I do not have him in my top 24. But it's like, I mean, my super flex options are not great right now, especially if Brian Robinson doesn't play.
So are you calling? Are you just on the pod? Evan, I heard it. Did you hear it?
Yes.
Brock Bowers for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, please.
Because that's what would have to happen for Aiden O'Connell to do good.
Listen,
I mean 15 points last week, and that 15 points was just enough for me to win.
I know, dude. I thought
would
you were losing. I
upset
was
me.
so happy.
Nothing would
that it didn't
upset me
happen.
more than if Foley managed to stack Aiden O'Connell and Brock Bowers and just it be a monster. That would kill every part of my faith.
Good.
I don't need any of that to happen. None of it.
I am. It would please me greatly if one of my. I mean, I drafted 3 different stacks in this league, and if that's the one that works out well,
That's
I'm gonna
sad.
because I drafted Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid.
How that's worked out?
I drafted Tua and Jalen Waddle.
How'd that work?
I'd rather
I just
start.
got a little spit on me.
My bad. But now, Aiden O'Connell and Brock Bowers to the moon, baby.
All right, I'm going to speak for Evan on this one. Raiders, no, except for Brock Bowers. Rams, no, except for Williams.
So you agree? No Zamir White.
No Zamir White.
He's out on Zamir White. Can we just get you to say it in those words? I am out on Zamir White.
Out on Zamir White.
It's about time. He's probably a great guy, but
definitely a great guy. Love to have dinner with him at the Waffle House. So moving on, we'll get the Panthers versus the Commanders.
I'm sorry, Rams? We're going to talk about the Rams at all?
Nah, there's
nobody.
Kyron
Williams.
No.
You think Whittington?
If Kupp is back,
you start
Kupp,
okay.
and if Kupp is back, you start Stafford. In Superflex. In Superflex, you start Stafford if Kupp is back.
I don't like that at all.
I'm shrugging my shoulders on that one. I'm indifferent because I don't even own him. I don't want to own him. So whatever. I defer to Foley on this
Kyron
one.
Williams, I'm going with.
Yeah, Kyron Williams for sure.
I mean,
Kyron Williams has a chance to be RB1 on the week.
Sure.
Panthers versus the Commanders.
Blowout.
The Panthers are winning, and they are 5. What? No, the Panthers are losing.
Yeah, Panthers are bad.
What are they? 1-5.
1-5.
Evans said blowout. I think he meant shootout.
Nope, I said blowout, and I meant blowout.
The Commanders are 4-2.
Commanders are going to wipe the floor with the Panthers this week.
I mean, look, in a Superflex, I would start Andy Dalton. I mean, that Commanders defense every week is going to be one to pick on. Your boy Emmanuel Forbes is very, very bad at football.
Very bad.
Leave him alone.
It's kind of sad.
All 130 pounds of him.
Yeah, and I mean, he looks 130 years old.
Look, I have a little dog at home that weighs more than Emmanuel Forbes. So
don't leave my man alone. We're supposed to pick on you.
I mean, he looked like a 13-year-old kid. Those pictures I saw at training camp, I was like, "Who is this kid?"
Well, no, he's got the body of a 13-year-old, but the face of a 50-year-old.
And the skills.
A 50-year-old chain smoker, mind you.
And the skills of a 50-year-old. All right, so look, Andy Dalton is a start. Chuba is a start.
Yep.
And Deontay is a start.
Yep. And if Deontay is out, Xavier Legette becomes a start, I think. This is where I might change my tune. If Deontay Johnson is out, I might start Xavier Legette over Aiden O'Connell in my Superflex.
All right.
Okay.
For the next one, look, I've been telling y'all, Jaden's coming down. Jaden's coming
Not
down.
against that Carolina defense.
Jaden's coming down, but this is probably not the week that he's going down. This is probably an upward trend this week, and if you got him, I hate to say this, but you started.
You damn
Terry
sure do.
McLaurin.
Brian
you're starting.
Robinson, you start.
If he plays.
Scary Terry, you
Terry.
start.
I love watching Scary Terry come back into what he should have been this whole time.
Same. He never left.
Yes, he
Kinda
he
did.
did.
He had some down in the middle there, but he's doing exactly what he should be doing right now, and I love that. Scary
Look,
Terry is one of my favorites.
This
Terry's my guy.
I'm not on the same level as Evan saying this is going to be the greatest game or
No,
Foley's.
I think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be a
blowout.
blowout.
I think it's gonna be a
okay. You
shootout.
said shootout. I'm leaning towards shootout.
I
I
think
feel
shootout.
like if you got anybody on these two teams, you start them.
Yep. I was low on Zach Ertz last week. He proved me wrong, and I'm in on Zach Ertz as a start this week if you've got him and you need it. Like if you don't have a top 3 or 5 tight end, Zach Ertz is a fine choice.
Look, like I said, as much as I hate Jane Daniels as an NFL quarterback, great guy, great college guy, he's probably going to blow up this week.
Yeah, I think he does.
Yep.
I mean, these are two very bad defenses.
Yes. Moving on, Chiefs 49ers. Chiefs, let's see. Chiefs are, oh Lord, I'm
It just
messing.
feels like forever since we've seen the Chiefs. It's been kind of nice, actually.
Yeah.
And the 49ers are just,
Uh,
I don't, look, the 49ers have so much potential and they have great stats, but 3-3, how?
They're not.
Kyle
They are not
Shanahan is-
finishing. They're just not finishing.
Kyle Shanahan is one of the greatest offensive coordinators of all time. Not an amazing head coach. That's how. And I respect the hell out of Kyle Shanahan. I really do. But he is not an amazing head coach.
I got him. I got the Niners as a loss in this week, but I think, and this isn't really even a hot take. There is going to be some phantom penalty against somebody touching Patrick Mahomes that irrevocably alters the outcome of
What?
this game.
Is there any
I
sort
know.
of history to back that up?
Who knows, man? But yeah, that's
It's a
100%
tinfoil hat out.
Look, you're starting Krabby Patty and Kareem
But you're
Hunt.
not feeling good about it.
No,
And you don't feel
I
good
don't.
about Kareem Hunt.
No, Kareem Hunt. I don't.
I think you can feel okay about Kareem Hunt.
I don't feel that way. And a wide receiver, no.
No.
Yeah, no. I would say Juju is a desperation flex. Again, I have Juju. I'm not putting him
I
in
would
my
take,
starting lineup.
what's the
but
rookie? I would take him over,
Xavier Worthy.
yeah.
I would also sit Xavier Worthy for this matchup. I think I would have Juju. I would go Juju over Xavier Worthy.
Juju has more potential than he's had in a very long
That's right.
time.
I think
do
49ers
agree
are
with
winning this game, which leads me into the 49ers. Brock Purdy,
that. Yes.
blow-up game.
I disagree.
I don't know about blow up. He's gonna have a good game. Brock Purdy's gonna be. I don't
Mason,
think this is a
Good game.
Mason. If he plays, I think he'll do amazing.
I don't
and
think
that's
it's going to be
saying that-
amazing.
I think that's
That's
saying
Chris
that even with
Jones.
Chris Jones right in his face, I think he has, for that situation, a really good game. But I don't know if he's going to play. And if he does not play, I don't trust Garindo at all.
So
I trust any 49ers running back. I mean, I really do.
The
Fire up. I think if Jordan Mason does not play, Isaac Garindo is a must start. The same way that Jordan Mason was a must start that first Monday night game, if you somehow were able to, because it was such a late announcement. But no, yeah, I think any Shanahan running back is a must start.
who do you start for wide receivers?
Debo.
Debo and Ayuk. I know it's been rough, but you still start them both.
No Jennings?
No Jennings.
No, and he's also questionable right now too.
Just
but
one.
I think it's
Jennings is a
that was
consideration
over.
for drops. Yeah,
That
for
one
dropping.
was done. He had himself a minute, and it was great.
I think you've got the two top tight ends on the week in this game, though, Kittle and Kelsey.
Yep. You start both
Man,
of
in
them.
We didn't
general,
talk about
like,
Kelsey
of
at
the
all,
last
but
decade.
Kelsey's
Kelsey's back.
The
he's
number one
stretching
question-
himself out again.
The number one question that we're asking ourselves for this game, does T Swift make an appearance?
Of course she
Of
does.
course, man, and
All
she'll be
right.
on the TV 6 times.
I
throughout
know,
the
'cause
game.
they'll
She has
be-
every game, hasn't
Yeah,
she?
it's ridiculous.
Which is fine. That's hey, we're getting women involved in the sport, and that's a good thing.
I
There are a lot
don't
of
need to
Swifties.
know. I don't need to see her 6 times in the suite.
It's hey,
That's a little too much.
it's building the fan base. It's not my thing either, but it's building the fan base, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned.
All right.
No
Yeah.
strong feelings about Taylor Swift either way.
Next game,
You're gonna get canceled. is what's gonna happen.
Jets versus the Steelers. Hey, T Swift would make a amazing Dazzler for the X-Men movie.
So
Prove me wrong on that one.
Superflex,
T Swift.
Taylor Swift, or Will Levis.
Ooh, I will go Taylor Swift because I don't want the Swifties to come for me.
All right, Jets versus the Steelers. The Jets. For some
Should be
reason I
better.
didn't mark this out. The Jets are. I think they're what 2-3,
2-4.
2-4. The Steelers are 4-2. I'm just gonna whatever for the Jets. I'm more interested in big play Russ
Yeah.
getting back
What's
there and
this about?
cooking.
What is this about? Why would they do it?
It's dumb.
It's Russell Wilson. Let's cook,
it's
baby.
not Russell Wilson anymore.
It's
No.
dumb.
It is a
This is
Subway,
Subway
foot
Russell.
long.
This is Subway
Sitting
Russell.
back there hollering for a Baja chicken. Let's go.
Unlimited.
Unlimited.
I like it spicy.
Gosh, that was creepy.
Yeah, I do
I do
why are
not
they doing
approve
it?
this message.
Justin Fields has been looking absolutely serviceable and even slightly good at times. I don't understand pulling.
I
don't-
mean,
I
he
don't
just
understand.
had the worst game of his season. I
He's
think
got
that's what he's coming
1,100
off of.
yards and 5 touchdowns. I wouldn't call that terrible. I call
No.
that very good.
Again, I think it's stupid too. I think Fields should still be the quarterback. I've talked about this I think last week. To me, it makes no sense. Setting aside hot hand or whatever, there is no chance in this world that Russell Wilson can become your franchise quarterback for the Steelers.
No.
Justin Fields, there is that
Yep.
chance. I don't think it's going to happen, but it can happen.
He could have his Geno moment.
Yeah, exactly. So
Russ
so,
is not having a Geno.
No, Russ is
No.
awful.
He's done. He's
No,
cooked.
he's
He's
cooked.
been cooked.
And
That said, the one silver lining for me is
Najee?
can he Pickens? It's Pickens. Can he
No.
do anything for Pickens?
No.
Because Russ does like sideline passes more than Fields does. Fields is an over the middle type of guy.
Look,
It's
Pickens
the-
is a wash this year.
It's the same thing I talked about last week with Pickens. He does not want to be there at all, and it shows in his
Pickens-
route running.
look,
It shows in his
Pickens is going to
explosiveness.
have 800 yards and 2 touchdowns for the season.
At a certain point, we do have to ask: is Mike Tomlin the problem with all of these?
As
all
long
of these
as he hits
playmakers who
500
want
every-
out of there.
Well,
And
most
then
most
he
I
of
gets
love Mike
500
Tomlin.
every year.
most of them have mush brain, so I'm gonna say that's what the problem is.
I love Mike Tomlin. Mike, I want you to know I was on your side during Tripgate. I was defending you. I still
No.
will defend you to this day.
I know.
However, I'm
That was-
starting to wonder why every single wide receiver and running back you get wants out.
What's Antonio Holmes up to these days, do you think?
That's a good question.
Oh Lord! All right, circle around the Jets. You starting Rodgers this week?
No, I would avoid it.
no,
Nah, I'm
you-
avoiding
you
it.
do.
Brees Hall?
Yeah,
No,
you start them.
Yeah, I mean, there was a minute there where it was looking like Braylon Allen was coming for his job, but last week
He
I
swapped.
think
He turned
Clinton
it
did.
around.
Yeah, I think you're
But
going with Brees.
They can't finish.
No, they cannot
absolutely
finish. They're
not
not getting
finish.
touchdowns like they should.
But they
Anything?
can get the Hail Mary. So, I mean, look, I think this is your last week to be pretty excited about starting. Or not excited. That's overstating the case.
Yes.
But this is the last week you can comfortably start Garrett Wilson. After that, it gets rough.
All right, so we'll move on to the Ravens and the Buccaneers. Now, this, my friends, is
gonna
the
be
shootout.
It's going to be a pretty good game.
This
We
is
got
up there with Lions.
The
Vikings.
Ravens are 4-2. The Buccaneers are 4-2. Talk me how Lamar is not a top quarterback in this league.
Well, technically he's not. Technically, the other quarterback in this game is, but I'll say more about him in a minute.
Laser Baker, baby.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar is elite. If the draft were today, I would
Yeah.
take Lamar.
I would have
number
taken him
one.
over
Josh
both of
Allen.
them. I would have taken him over both of the quarterbacks that I drafted.
Well, you were silly to take Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
know.
understand that at the time.
It was
But 2 weeks ago when you and I did this, Uriah, when Evan ditched us, I said I would take Lamar as the number 2, and I would still take Josh Allen as the number 1.
Whip it.
And I
Flip
would
it.
swap it now, yeah. Lamar would be the number 1. He is a Foletics alumni, by the way. Just want
King-
everyone to remember that.
Henry is
King Henry?
Henry
Henry
at
is
the top.
on
Man.
the
What I
think
say? Bubble
he's-
up that little cat
If I
burrito?
did my top 5, which I don't think I did, I think Henry's number 1. And then
I had a number 1, yep.
and then whoever the heck else. Saquon behind him, I guess.
Yep.
And then from then on, Mason.
Kyron.
Zay's a start.
Zay's a start.
Other
I
than
don't
that,
like him, but he's a start.
other than that, don't play a tight end.
Don't
You
play
can't
either
trust
tight end.
either tight end, and it's just annoying. It's annoying because one of them will probably catch 2 to 3 touchdowns out of nowhere, but which one's it going to be? You'll not know until it's over.
Yeah, do not chase the Mark Andrews dragon.
Nope.
Just don't even think about it.
If
I
you've
have
got Isaiah Likely, see if you can get rid of him. See if you can trade him.
I'm actually probably about to, in the league that I have him, I'm probably about to drop him straight up. Not even shopping him. I'm just going to drop him.
So now I have a hot take. Give me Baker, comeback player of the year / MVP.
No, he's going to be an MVP talk. I don't think
He talks for it. I don't think he gets it.
I don't think he's eligible for comeback player of the year, but
Give that man something.
What, I didn't realize there was eligibility for
There
comeback.
it is. It's some weird.
New. No, this is the first year they've had
Oh, it is?
eligibility rules.
Oh, okay.
Was it because of the DeMar Hamlin, Joe Flacco
Yes,
thing?
and so
From
they made-
dying and
because
not
people
getting
were
it.
upset about DeMar Hamlin not getting it, and they were like, "Well, no, he wasn't eligible," and so some of the writers who vote for it were upset that Hamlin didn't win, and so they clarified it has to be a statistical
Okay, well,
thing. But Baker was good enough last year that he doesn't.
Baker's
qualify.
there. He's MVP this year, baby.
I think Baker's
He's in the
amazing.
talks.
I think Baker is so good. I kick myself every single day that I did not draft him in this league. I wanted to. I kept waiting. I kept thinking I could get him a little bit later, and it just didn't happen. And it makes me very, very sad. If I had gotten Baker, I would be the best team in this league.
And
No question.
And
I
no
don't know,
question
man.
in my
says
mind.
the guy who gave himself an A+ in the draft
Yeah,
grade
can
from
you-
himself.
Can you start a quarterback in like 4 different slots at the same
I
time?
don't think so.
I only need that one slot. slot.
So saying that,
Um,
I know we've had discussion about Bucky.
Yeah, well, before I get to Baker, last thing on Baker, though. As great as he is, and he is amazing, I think he has a little bit of a comeback down to earth game this week against
Nope.
that Baltimore defense. The
Goes-
Baltimore defense is tough.
Laser.
I don't think it's a total shootout.
It's a
I think he'll
shootout,
still
though.
be fine. Don't get me wrong. Please
You
start
got
Baker.
you got Godwin and Evans
You do?
and Otten and Bucky.
Otten's
That's
coming up.
that's a stud team.
Otten's
And I don't
looking
like the
pretty
Can
Buccaneers.
you
good.
imagine, though? I was thinking about this today. Can you imagine if Baker had the offense that Brady had a couple years ago? When I forgot how loaded that offense was because it was Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and Rob Gronkowski.
Well,
That
that's
is insane.
That's when Antonio went walking off
And it was also,
during the middle
that
of
was
the
at the
game.
back end of
Gronk was still good,
Gronkowski. He was still good, but it was on the back end. I'll tell you
Anyway.
something that I think will actually make you quite happy,
Okay.
and it's not something that I have said very often.
You like Mike Evans.
Mike Evans is a top 5, maybe top 3 wide receiver. this year.
Ooh, girl. Is it because he's going to be up against tiny little, what's the rookie corner's name? Nate Wiggins. He's going to be up against the other scrawny corner.
He's going to clean up this week, just 100%.
Girl, you know how to talk to me.
Oh, it's gross.
All right, as much as I would love to dwell on that, you brought up the backfield. This is one, I was talking to Uriah about this off air. As much as I've said this already about the Jags and the Giants, this is the worst one for me. Because, okay, last week, Bucky Irving had a great game, but if you're a Bucky owner, you cannot be happy coming out of that game. Because Sean Tucker had an amazing game.
I think it's time to sell if you can.
Absolutely.
If
Sell
you
Bucky
can.
Irving if you can. Sean Tucker had an amazing game, and Rashad White is coming back, and they're still saying he's the RB1. Now, listen, that doesn't mean he's necessarily going to get all the carries. I know there was the Ramondre Stevenson thing, but he's still going to be involved. He's still the best pass catcher of the three. So he's going to be on the field. Now you've got, theoretically, Bucky's the RB2, and Sean Tucker's going to potentially get more touches as well. This just becomes such an ugly committee that you can't do anything with it as far as I'm concerned.
All right. So we'll move on to the last game. The Chargers versus the Cardinals. The Chargers are 3-2. The Cardinals are 2-4.
I've been waiting for this one because I've got
It's depressing
this is a whole
to
lot.
watch Justin Herbert this year.
I've got something.
Poor
about-
guy.
Yep.
Depressing. How do you take one of the best arms in the league and turn him into a
reduce him to
check-down
nothing?
monster? How
I'm
do you
so
do
excited.
I don't
You know
like
what's even sadder is that he only has like
Oh, you're gonna steal
60
this.
more yards than quarterback for the Panthers. Andy
Well,
Dalton.
listen, I want to tell
Sad.
you, I've got some stats for you about his rushing yards. Because if there were anything that maybe could have gone right for Justin Herbert, it was the fact that this is Greg Roman running the offense, the guy who was famously Lamar Jackson and Colin Kaepernick. Quarterbacks who have as many or more yards rushing than Justin Herbert. Okay? Joe Flacco.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
And his Walker?
Andy Dalton.
And his Walker?
Oh, yeah.
My favorite, Bryce Young, who hasn't played
Oh,
since week
no.
2, still has the same number of rushing yards as Justin
What is
Herbert.
that number? Do you have it?
26 or 27.
Look,
Really?
Yeah.
look.
I don't think I watched the Chargers game.
I'm
this
with
year.
Evan. Justin Herbert is a great quarterback who is just on a terrible team.
Listen, I don't know anymore if Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. We have made excuses for him year after year. And he's got all the talent in the world, I know, but there's just something missing. He's gone through so many coordinators, and not one of them has been able to unlock him.
Who is his wide receivers?
He's had them, though. He doesn't have them this year,
And
but
he
he's
did,
had them.
and he did good those years. It wasn't
He did
great.
okay.
It
Not as
wasn't
good
great.
not as good as he was billed to be. So I don't know what to think of Herbert anymore. But for fantasy this year, I am out on Justin Herbert.
Yes,
I don't
absolutely.
ever
I'm
want to
done
start
with
him again this year.
The only person on the San
Tough
Diego
part is
Wells Vagina
I don't
is
think you can
JK. JK is it.
Yeah. Okay.
On the Chargers side, I
Yes.
agree. Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins.
And it's a good matchup for JK, by the way.
Now my arch nemesis, Kyler Murray.
And I'm sorry, last thing on the Chargers. I shouldn't say I'm all the way out on him because any of the Chargers can have a good week this week because it is the Arizona defense, and that Arizona defense is awful.
The Cardinals are awful. The Chargers and the Cardinals are awful.
Chargers defense is legit. I'll start
It's fine
Kyler,
enough.
but I'm not loving it.
Is Harrison out this week?
That's the question.
We don't know.
That's a big question. That's going to change a whole lot about all of them. To be honest with you, even James Conner.
I'm starting Connor.
Of course you're starting Conner, but
I think-
I'm wondering how good you feel about
Yeah.
it.
I feel like the only two people on both these teams are the running backs, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Unless Harrison comes back, and then I would start Harrison.
I forget who we were comparing Michael Wilson to earlier, but to be clear, I don't want you to start Michael Wilson. I love the dude. I wouldn't recommend starting him, though. And
Devontae.
maybe if
Devontae.
that's right. I would start him over Devontae. Maybe if Harrison is out, you can throw a dart at Michael Wilson.
So, moving on. I know this one has ran long. We're going to end it up real shortly. But we have a mystery picker on this podcast this week. It's our very own Matthew Berry, direct from his Start Sit column.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Matthew Berry. This week, he has chosen the must-starts being Kirk Cousins, Breece Hall, Drake London, Trey McBride. His sits are Trevor Lawrence,
Old.
Ramondre Stevenson, Calvin Ridley, and Evan Ingram. Which I just want to say, Barry, come on, man. Let's be a little bit more bold because you got Stevenson, Ridley, and Ingram, and I don't even know if
Ingram might not even play.
To be clear, I didn't put, and we're going to go over my boom bust in a second, I didn't put Calvin Ridley on my bust lineup because I didn't think it made sense to have him 2 weeks in a row when he hit on the bust last week.
If you're a bust of the week every single week, you don't get listed
That's
on the
right.
list.
that's right. You shouldn't even. I mean, it's a guarantee.
That's right. That's why I didn't put him on there.
So, and just
so
look.
I am bolder than Matthew Berry.
So
is the point.
Listen, guys, you're letting these guys pick your lineup. Don't do that. Grow a pair.
Stop
Let
reading
us
that
pick your
crap.
lineup.
Let
read
us.
read it for the stats and things that are imparted upon it. Don't read it so I can say, oh, now I absolutely am going to start. What was his name? Whatever. Doesn't
Yes.
matter. Don't listen to Matthew Berry really at all.
No,
Definitely
I
not
am
him.
smarter than Matthew Berry.
Yeah.
So, Foley, give me your start sits.
You're gonna love. All right. So,
I need a quarterback, a running back, wide receiver, tight end.
All right, my booms. I feel like some of my booms are not as spicy as they were last week, but I feel okay about them. Andy Dalton, top 12 quarterback this week. Wow. Devon Achane, top 10 running back this
Ooh.
week.
That's bold.
For all the reasons I said earlier about Mike McDaniel.
That is spicy.
Yeah.
Spicy meatball.
Since you're only asking for one each, for my wide receiver, I'm going to go Jacoby Myers top 30, which I know that's not amazing, but top 30. Again, what I'm going on is relative to where he's generally ranked, where someone like Barry would rank him. He would have him outside the top 30. I'm saying he finishes inside the top 30. Honorable mention to Kayshon Boutte, who could be top 50 this week. And Travis Kelce, tight end 1.
Give me your sits.
I love that. You're going to love this one. My quarterback, Brock Purdy, finishes outside the top 12 quarterbacks.
Not going to happen.
Finishes outside the top 12. Running back, Bucky Irving finishes outside the top 30.
Definitely
for
might
all
happen.
the reasons.
I guess per Foles, I guess I better start Levis.
Start
Go
Levis.
ahead.
Yes, go ahead and start Levis over Purdy.
Go ahead.
You heard it here first. This one makes me sad. Jalen Waddle finishes outside the top 50. I don't think Mike McDaniel can get everyone involved, even coming after the bye week, and I think Waddle's the one who suffers. And tight end Pat Freiermuth finishes outside the top 20.
Evan, what you got?
Not much, man. I did not have time to prepare a start list before this happened.
I want you to know, guys.
I sat down at the table.
As I just asked that to Evan, there's a scene in a very good movie, Cheech and Chong, where the police officer calls up and goes, "License," and he looks at him and goes, "That's on the bumper, man." That was the look I just got from Evan.
I want you to know that when I walked in the door at 5:30, Uriah Foley said, "Hey, we're going to do start sits." And then I thought that's what we just did a minute ago when we did all the teams.
I was a little
did not
confused
make a list.
about what Uriah was saying with the
I
start
apologize.
sets as well.
I'll come up with a
apologize.
list next week. I know that everybody is champing at the bit to get my knowledge. I got you next week.
So my starts this week would be Josh Allen, Chase Brown, DK Metcalf, and Hunter Henry.
Henry's a good call.
My sits would be Jordan Love, Joe Mixon,
What?
Debo, and Kyle Pitts.
You got to call these boom and bust, not start sit, because you should not be prescribing a sit.
You're not
Joe
sitting
Mixon
Joe Mixon. There's just no
or
chance.
Jordan Love. You shouldn't be telling people to sit them. That's just
I just called them sits, so you sit them.
that is
Huh?
irresponsible.
I shouldn't be doing that as a fantasy analyst.
That's right. People come to us.
Look, that was my hands in quotation marks. See you guys later, Foley,
Peace out.
Evan.
Goodbye.
Later, guys.